So in your initial days of career, you got the global portfolio of the cargo operation.
But then I always wanted experience outside India. So when I got the opportunity to work with Tata, I moved to Dubai to work with them. And then I ended up working with them for more than 1.5 decades. I was working with Emirates Sky Cargo. I headed their global infrastructure development. It's a fully automated, well-equipped, even one of the best in the world even today after. And then in 2023, when Air India approached me for heading the cargo business, I thought it's fantastic because it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for anybody to go on head. Today, if you look at the structure, we have almost 270 plus people. So the structure, defining the processes, improving the operations, bringing in the technology that would help the redefinition of the cargo business for Air India group, and integration of the 4 airlines into 2, all that happened in the last 2 years. To me, kind of experienced in Dubai, you need to build infrastructure. You should not worry too much about whether that would be used or not. In key airports, I'm not saying across the country.
Which are the country India can support for the transshipment?
I think we should actually think and behave like the global airlines think. They don't think regionally, right? They are actually global hubs. I'm actually seeing those opportunities here, and it is happening today. We're not able to do it very efficiently. I see the signs of that happening very, very quickly. If I have the capacity, if I have the airport infrastructure, I will be able to compete very effectively with anybody.
How the Air India is transforming the entire, all the way the government cultural driven organization and the operations to now Tata centric cultural. नमस्कार दोस्तों, लॉजिस्टिक्स शक्ति के पॉडकास्ट चैनल में एक बार फिर से आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। जैसा हमारा आपको प्रॉमिस है, कमिटमेंट है, वादा है कि लॉजिस्टिक्स इंडस्ट्री और उससे जुड़ी हुई सपोर्ट इंडस्ट्री से हम आपको उन प्रोफेशनल्स और बिजनेस लीडर्स को रूबरू कराते हैं जिनकी सक्सेसफुल जर्नी से, जिनकी रियल लाइफ एग्जाम्पल से हम और आप कुछ सीख सकते हैं। लॉजिस्टिक्स शक्ति पॉडकास्ट is very useful for those people who are looking for building their career in logistics industry, who is looking for building their startups in logistics and supply chain functions. So आज की सीरीज में जिनसे मैं आपको इंट्रोड्यूस करा रहा हूं, 2 चीज मैं आपको बोलना चाहता हूं. One is the segment what going to discuss today is very, very interesting. So the segment we are going to touch upon and interact upon, that is within the logistics sector, it is air cargo. Commercial air cargo within India operations and the global outlook you are going to get it today. And the personality, the global personality we are bringing today is who has the more than 3 decades of experience, all the way started from, one of the premier airlines and heading the global cargo operations of Emirates. He has been the chief cargo officers of Adani Ports and Qatar Airways, who has served in the capacity of a CEO and COO more than decade for Chalabi, which is a large multinational ground handling organization. And currently, he is serving one of the largest airlines of India, Indian Airlines, Tata Group company, in the capacity of cargo head for the global scale. The kind of a complex operations he is handling, and the kind of the portfolio which remain all the time alert. In logistics, we all know today is always different than the yesterday, and tomorrow is not going to be the same as today. So this complexity and the uncertainties are much higher in air cargo operations. So help me welcome Mr. Ramesh Mamidala, the head of a cargo for Air India. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for coming here. Thank you once again from Logistics Shakti entire audience point of view and the Logistics Shakti team that you have given a time for us. So I have gone through the entire journey of yours. It is very, very fascinating. But still, I would like to hear, how did you really reach to this muqam?
Thank you, Amit. I think it is absolute pleasure to be here. And I thank Logistics Shakti to have given this opportunity to me. As you rightly introduced me, I've had a very long career in air freight industry. In fact, a small correction, when I started working after my post-graduation, I started as a management consultant with Aisher Consultancy Services. I used to work with A.T. Kearney very actively. I started working with them in Mumbai. And I was very fortunate that in those days, I got exposed to SCM and logistics related consulting experience, which is what I wanted. And fortunately, It was kind of a niche area at the time, not very popular. Not many companies understood logistics, but those that understood were very keen to develop logistics in their organization. So I started working with them, worked with them for a couple of years. But then I always wanted experience outside the India. So when I got the opportunity to work with Tata back in 1995, I moved to Dubai to work with them. And then I ended up working with them for more than 1.5 decades with the Emirates Group. It's a wonderful company, as you said.
Yeah.
One of the best in the world, best airline.
Premier organization.
Best organization, even from the employee point of view. So I had the good fortune of kind of be part of the story at a very early stage in Emirates Group. I worked with Tata for a couple of years. Then I moved to their group IT company where I was heading their cargo handling systems. We developed 6-7 different systems, including a cargo community system, implemented within the group and also commercialized and sold those systems outside Dubai. And between 2002 and between 2006 and 2011, before I left the group, I was working with Emirates Sky Cargo. I headed their global infrastructure development. The cargo mega terminal that if you visit the cargo village today, you see that it's a prominent structure. It's a fully automated, well-equipped, even one of the best in the world even today after almost 16, 17 years of its rollout. So I was involved in designing, developing and rolling out the terminal. So at the same time, I was also managing the global products for them, global services. I was involved in managing operations of the Emirates Sky Cargo Global Hub.
So in your initial days of career, you got the global portfolio of the cargo operations.
Correct. I think I was very young, very fortunate to have got involved in developing a lot of terminals, cargo terminals. In fact, at the age of maybe 28, 29, I was actually developing fairly automated cargo terminal for Tata. So in a way, I think very lucky to have been exposed to all that at a very early stage. And we were actually thinking and developing very, very expensive IT systems for the cargo industry at the time. At the age of 30, I was actually heading a product called Chameleon development with about 175,
Chameleon
180. Chameleon is a ground handling system. It's a software. It's a system that we call as Chameleon. It's a terminal handling system for cargo airport operations. When Tata wanted to replace its legacy system, when they went to the market looking for it, they didn't find any good system in the market. So then we saw an opportunity to develop and then
in-house it is developed.
Absolutely. Very expensive. That was developed in J2E. So I have a bit of software development experience as well. So that was the first project for Emirates Group to have developed in J2E architecture, one of its kind in the world as well. It is still running in the airport. It still runs very successfully. Eventually, it became part of a product called SkyChain, where again, I was very fortunate to have been involved in developing SkyChain for Emirates Airline Group. I think that exposure of almost 15 plus years was wonderful. Enjoyed working with them. Learned a lot as to how the airlines run, how the airports run, how the handling business run. With that experience, when I wanted to come back to India, I saw the opportunity with Chalabi to come back. India was kind of, the airports were being privatized. The economy was opening up. Everything was growing massively in India. That was the right time. I'm very happy that I
the transformation was happening that period.
Absolutely. So I think almost 4 or 5 airports were privatized. Delhi airport was one of them. Delhi was the biggest at the time. It continues to be the biggest in India even today. So I'm happy that I made that call to come back to work with the Delhi airport. I came back to work with them as a chief operating officer with Chalabi, as you rightly said. And eventually I became the CEO for that company. Worked with them until 2019. Then went to work with Adani Group to head their cargo and ground handling businesses.
Adani, when you were heading the chief cargo officer, it was a ground basically. Or it's a port operations? Nothing was a air cargo?
No, it's airports. So 2019, Adani Group won the concessions to run 5 airports. All of us know that. So then eventually Mumbai, Navi Mumbai also came along with it. Became part of the group. So when they won the airports, they were kind of establishing the management team. And somebody that I was reporting to, Mr. Siddharth Kapoor, when I was heading Chalabi, he was part of my board and he was also the group president for finance and GMR Group. He went on to become the first CEO of Adani Airports. So he asked me and then I couldn't refuse. So I saw that as a big opportunity as well. So I went along with him to work with Adani Airports. Ended up working with them for almost 4 years. Headed cargo and ground handling businesses, fairly large. That included Mumbai, Navi Mumbai.
Yeah.
So that experience, like what I did in Chalabi, Chalabi was a brownfield experience, right? So I came in and I wasn't quite used to the union problems, regulatory framework in India. So I got exposed to all that, while I kind of brought in the experience of modernization, large-scale terminal operations, expansion, products, innovation, and all that I brought from my Dubai experience.
Yeah.
But then I had to learn a lot on the ground in terms of developing terminals in a brownfield climate.
Intricacies of the Indian operations. Correct. And then the Dubai is quite
so that
different.
That absolutely happened in Celebi experience. And all that experience of Dubai and Celebi came to a great use when I was heading the Adani airports, because the 5 airports were brownfield, legacy. So we had to develop all of them, also define strategies for all of them. In some airports, cargo was responsibility for Adani, but there was no opportunity to do cargo business there. So we had to create opportunities for all of them. Mumbai obviously was very big. Yeah. Master plans were to be done. And Navi Mumbai was completely greenfield. So the master plan for the entire cargo infrastructure was to be done. So all that was done. And then eventually people that took over from me, they went on developing those terminals. And then in 2023, when Air India approached me for heading the cargo business, I thought it's fantastic, because it's kind of once in a lifetime opportunity for anybody to go on head such a transformation. And then kind of everything that I learned in my life in the last, as you said, 30 plus years came to a great use in helping the airline, transforming the cargo business, expanding the cargo business, automating it, modernizing it, putting a structure. There was nothing, there were a handful of people when I took over the cargo business of Air India. And then we today, if you look at the structure, we have almost 270 plus people. So the structure, defining the processes, improving the operations, bringing in the technology that would help the redefinition of the cargo business for Air India group, and integration of the 4 airlines into 2. All that happened in the last 2 years. Very aggressive, I should say. But then I think what other airlines would have taken something like 5 years, 10 years. I'm very happy and very proud that we managed to do all that in 2 years' time. Although it is not about Air India, but then I think the experience of making things happen in other organizations came to a great use for me personally to make all that happen very, very quickly in Air India Group. So where I am today, I have a few more years to go in the industry before I retire. But then obviously I'm still learning. As you said, logistics industry is never the same.
Yeah.
What you see today, what you saw yesterday is not what you will see tomorrow.
Every day is different.
It's changing. Challenges are different. And then more so today with the tariffs kicking in, which has happened yesterday. Nobody knows how it would actually pan out and how it would redefine the exports market for India. But then we see a lot of other positive things happening in India as well. Manufacturing is going to massively expand, creating opportunities for air exports as well. I have been very vocal about talking about the opportunity of growth for air cargo in India. We are just about 3.5, 3.7 million tons, and which is as much as what Dubai airport does, or much lesser to what Hong Kong does. Slightly more than what Singapore airport does. And these airports on their own do so much. And we as a country only do 3.7, 3.5 million tons.
So this 3.5 million tons is less than 1% of the global air cargo.
Correct.
Overall, as far as revenue is concerned.
Roughly 3%. So globally, if you look at the air freight revenue, we make about $3.5 to $4 billion is what the size of the industry in India is, air freight industry. And globally, the market size is about $170 billion.
So this gives two reflections. One is we are too small. So that is a demotivating factor for us, or it is a huge potential, the way the economy is growing and the long way we have to go. If, globally, within Southeast Asia itself, 40% cargo is happening. And globally, we are at, between 1 to 3%. So this is the opportunity, or what is any challenges going on?
Correct. I think what you say kind of is a reflection of what happened in the past. I think we did not do enough to promote air cargo as an enabler for the growth of the economy. And I see that as an opportunity. It is all happening today. You see the infrastructure of the airports kind of has improved. So to me, as I've kind of experienced in Dubai, you need to build infrastructure. You should not worry too much about whether that would be used or not. In key airports, I'm not saying across the country. So that becomes an enabler for the economy to grow, right? Which is what I've seen in many places that I have so far worked. I think that happened in the last 10 years.
So the key point, infrastructure building, irrespective of the usage, we have to go gang-ho and aggressively building the infrastructure.
That is important. We have seen in places like Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, we have seen these airports massively growing because they invested in infrastructure. So privatization added a lot of value. Yeah. So the investors saw the market very differently. They were not conservative. They were very optimistic and bullish about the growth of the economy of the country, and they invested ahead of the growth curve that happened. And at the right time, rightfully so, with massive capacity that everybody created. It happened in cargo and packs both. And more on the pack side for sure. Cargo, some airports invested, so a lot more work has to happen. I think that kind of benefited these airports to grow much faster than other airports, even in the region, not just in India. Even regionally, if you look at it, Delhi is one of the largest in the world now, not just in the region anymore. And it will possibly end
Delhi is one of the largest in the world as a passenger or the air cargo?
Cargo, I think they have touched again 1 million tons.
Yeah.
They should be in the top 30 very easily. And I don't see any reason why they should not become one of the top 20, let's say in about 3 to 5 years' time, very easily. There are reasons why I'm saying it. But on the pack side, they're expected to touch 100 million passengers very soon. That actually puts them maybe number 2, number 3 in the world in terms of passengers. So they are growing very rapidly on the passenger side of the business. So that creates opportunities. When you have so much of passengers traffic that happens in an airport, it brings in cargo belly capacity as well, leading to the growth of cargo. The reason why I'm saying, so let's go back to this 3.5 million tons. So you've heard me saying it many times in the past, and you've heard many people from the ministry, from other departments saying that we are looking at the country doing 10 million tons by 2030. I have seen other independent consultants vouching for this as well, and there are reasons why we are saying it. I'm of the opinion that even if it doesn't happen by 2030, it will definitely happen by 2032 in that range, because there are 3 major things that are happening in the country, which will kind of explode in the coming years. So one of the biggest thing is transshipment, right? So unlike the airports in the region that are competing with us and that have become massive transshipment hubs for cargo and packs both, right? And take Dubai, for example. Emirates Airlines, the cargo that they process in Dubai, 87% of it is transshipment, which actually doesn't belong to Dubai at all, right? Given their fantastic network that they've created, 80% passes through Dubai. And that is because they're a major,
so
very
they have
efficient...
made the gateway for, particularly the European countries, and of course for the Middle East.
Correct. Like what Memphis has done in the US for FedEx. They have created successfully. And very importantly, one is creating infrastructure. You should not limit to that alone. I think you should also have an anchor airline or anchor airlines supporting that growth. That obviously happened in Singapore, Hong Kong, in Dubai as well, in Doha, which we have seen in the last 15, 20 years. That is expected to happen in Indian airports now, right? With the airlines that we are discussing, bringing in so much of capacity, placing massive orders for the fleet expansion in the next 5 to 10 years' time, we see, apart from the infrastructure growing, in the airports that the airlines want to use them as global hubs, we see massive capacity, wide body as well as narrow body. Wide body is very important for cargo. We see massive explosion of wide body capacity being deployed in the Indian airports, which is a big thing, right? So as a result, even if you don't have the market to satisfy that capacity, we have an opportunity for the airlines and airports to start developing transshipment hubs in the country.
So now, for India-centric locations, so the way you have given the example of Dubai for a transshipment or the emphasis, right? So which are the country India can support for the transshipment?
Oh, this is, so in fact, if I can talk from the airline point of view, there's no limit to that. Obviously, initially we were looking at becoming a regional hub, for the SAARC countries, so on and so forth. But I think what I've seen in the last 2 years has kind of proven me wrong. I think we should actually think and behave like what the global airlines think, the likes of Emirates Airlines, Qatar. No, they don't think regionally, right? They are actually global hubs. They transport cargo from America to Australia, from Southeast Asia or Far East into Africa, right? So, and from Europe into the US, using their hubs as the global hubs. I'm actually seeing those opportunities here, and it is happening today. It is happening today. We're not able to do it very efficiently. We're not able to do it very economically. But then I see the signs of that happening very, very quickly. So even today, on a small scale, I see these transshipments happening in Indian airports with the Indian Airlines, stuff coming from the east coast of US going to Australia, from the east coast of US into Dubai, right? They can actually fly directly, but they use our hubs, our airlines, our capacity to go to Dubai.
So that is the geographic advantage India is having as far as distance and
We do have
connectivity is concerned.
Yeah, in a way. We don't have a lot of advantage like other airlines have. But then we do have some advantage geographically. But it's a question of the airport infrastructure, friendly policies, and the airline capacity that we need to develop. Now, what is going to change, the reason why I'm saying transshipment will actually contribute a massive amount of cargo is there is a recent change in transshipment policy. It just happened 2 or 3 days ago. Now, a few years ago, the regulator very stringently implemented rescreening of all kinds of transshipment cargo, right? Transshipment has 4 types, right? It has international to international. That is the component that I've been talking about.
Okay.
But then, given the large size of the country, we also have international cargo. For example, something going from Chicago via Delhi to Chennai. This is called I2D.
Correct.
And the first format of transshipment is Chicago to Melbourne, Chicago, Delhi, Melbourne. That's I2I. And so we have I2D, the second example that I gave. We also have stuff coming from Chennai, Delhi, going to Chicago. It's called D2I.
So domestic to international.
D2I, domestic to
export oriented.
So international to international, international to domestic. And the third example that I gave is domestic to international, using one of the Indian hubs. Then we also have, given the size, our domestic market is fairly large. Out of the 3.7 million ton that I said in the beginning, almost 40% of that is domestic cargo, right? And that is growing because of the e-commerce, domestic e-commerce penetration.
Actually, 3 are basically the point of discussion we were having, and you have added the transshipment hub. One is within the India, tier 2 and tier 3 growth. And
so that's happening.
And then the e-commerce growth.
Correct. And we have benefited.
And then transshipment you mentioned. And third is the export-oriented growth. Okay, let's talk about the domestic growth.
So D2D, domestic, I'll come back to domestic later. It is growing for sure, but the growth also created opportunities for domestic to domestic transshipment in Indian airports. And these airports don't need to be tier 1. They can be tier 2, tier 3 airports as well. So I've seen a lot of small airports like Bhubaneswar, Jaipur, Lucknow, Calicut, Cochin, behaving like transshipment hubs. This is for predominantly domestic to domestic. So we have 4 types of transshipment categories, right? And so regardless of any category that you want to process in India, every shipment has to be screened in the last point of departure, at the last point of departure. That's a rule. That is a rule that we have today. That makes the entire process very inefficient. It takes longer, adds a lot of cost, because you need to deploy manpower, you need larger facilities to process that. And very importantly, it adds tremendous amount of time, process time to it. For example, in places like Dubai or Doha, you can see transshipment happening within 3 hours and within 6 hours time. Yeah. Tail to tail, you can actually
even
connect in 2 hours.
You've seen passengers very, very fast.
Absolutely. So tail to tail, on the RAM, you can actually do in 2 hours time, 3 hours time. These are a few things that we actually developed when we were working there. And you can very efficiently do anything within 6 hours time, not a problem at all. The minimum connection window in Indian airports is 36 hours because of this process.
That's the entire purpose of using the air cargo as a mode.
It doesn't work for air cargo because you're very inefficient. And very few people that accept that kind of transshipment window are the ones that are giving business to you, not the entire world. This is one. Second thing is, anybody that is transporting cargo from, let's say, Chicago to Australia, the guy is actually sending a built unit, right? He doesn't want the unit to be broken down, screened, and built again. And because when you build it back, you may not be able to build the way he optimized it at the time of original build-up. So apart from the fact that you're adding cost, time, so on and so forth. So it kind of defeats the entire transshipment that the customer expects from you. Now, this is changing. The change already happened. It should be implemented by the airports and airlines very, very soon. So we are kind of reviewing that policy and see what changes we need to ask the government to make and what we need to deploy for the infrastructure, for people to make it happen. Eventually, when that happens, I'm saying few months down the line, not few years down the line, but the policy is already in place. We just need to implement it. When that happens, we will have an opportunity to connect in 6 hours time, 3 hours time. We can actually productize it.
So the goal is from 36 hours to 6 hours.
Correct. Absolutely. So when that happens, if I have the capacity, if I have the airport infrastructure, I will be able to compete very effectively with anybody that you name, right? Then my transshipment volumes will explode.
So can you just simplify a little bit more for the layman perspective? The 36 hours we are taking for, which are the component involved within 36 hours and how we are going to bring it 6 hours?
So currently, as I said,
80% inefficiency we have to Cuddle down.
It's not inefficiency. We can't hold anybody responsible. People are complying with the policy. Policy says do these activities, they do, and you need so much of time to do those activities. It is, you need to break every unit down, right? Every ULD down, every pallet down, and you need to screen at a piece level, at a package level, and then you need to build it again. And since you need to do that on a large scale, there are queues, that unfortunately get created, and the queues are longer in peak window.
Correct.
And the peak windows happen 2 or 3 times in a year.
Seasonal timing. So
it does add. So it is not because of anybody
timings.
inefficiency. It is how the process is.
Yeah.
And we cannot create unlimited capacity for anything that can happen, right? So when these are kind of eliminated, we become very, very efficient. You're not breaking it down. So you receive a unit of the aircraft, bring it to the warehouse. It takes an hour, and you're not doing anything with it. And when it is time for departure, the same unit put on a dolly, and then it is taken to the aircraft. So I can effectively connect in 3 hours' time because I'm not touching that unit, because I'm retaining that unit as an intact unit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that is the time that is saved. So we become extremely efficient in making these connections happen. To me, the transshipment, as the belly capacity increases, as the infrastructure improves, this itself should be adding about 2 million tons of cargo, all forms, I2I, I2D, D2I, and D2D, by 2030. So 2 million tons of the 10 million should be coming from the transshipment alone. The other component, I'll come back to domestic a few minutes later. The other thing is, which all of us understand, but we don't fully understand the positive impact of this, is the international cross-border e-commerce. And very importantly, C2C segment, right?
Correct.
So that I have kind of heard in the recent past, that's a market that is going to explore purely because of our Indian diaspora that live across the globe, right?
And the demand from the India source,
that is
consumer
increasing.
need
Correct.
is immense.
Correct. And again, there are some policy changes that are expected to happen, and some changes have happened, which kind of make it very friendly for people to buy from India and get at their doorstep whatever they buy from India. And both the directions as well, people can also very easily get from the US and Europe.
So this is reminding me one question, although it is little deviation from the discussion what we wanted to have. Cross-border e-commerce, the return is a big problem.
Correct. So the policy changes need to happen. So I think at this point in time, a lot of these companies that do cross-border are also very small companies.
Yeah.
They have not grown in size. And the service providers that support this industry are also evolving, right? So we don't have too many global companies that support, like return logistics that you talked about. So there is a small, because you need to keep the cost down. There's a lot of small scale companies that support this. And it may not be very economical for them to get the shipments back and then hand over to the...
And then duty involvement is there, duty refund issue is there.
Policy changes need to happen.
Correct.
So I'm not an expert in that area, but this is one area this is one product that I see exploding. When you remove the barriers, we kind of expect this market to be $350 billion, adding about 500,000 tons, 500,000 tons to 750,000 tons of export cargo alone out of India. That's massive again, right?
So cross-border e-commerce growth driver is adding how many millions of
500,000 tons?
500 millions of tons can be added.
500,000. 500,000?
500,000.
500,000 to 750,000 tons.
Got it.
Which is big.
Very
big. And
the huge opportunity for the service providers.
Absolutely. So I'll come to there are challenges as well. Then we have the manufacturing for exports, which all of us know, including defense, including electronics, has been happening for some time. But we see the scale increasing because of the PLI scheme that we have in the country.
PLI is also a big growth
It's
driver.
a big booster. And we see the defense improving as well. We have seen some signs of that. So defense actually is both import and export. When you are actually manufacturing for export, you need components coming by air as well. So defense exports will substantially improve both import and export potential for air cargo.
So defense shipping is also happening through the air cargo mode?
Yeah. A lot of it is happening. And so if you put all these three components, with the growth that would happen in the existing segment, I don't see any reason why it should not be 10 million tons by 2032 at least. Now, the challenge is, let's say we do 10 million tons by 2032. Are we capable of managing that kind of a demand? Do we have enough airline belly capacity? Do we have enough airport capacity to manage it? Answer is no. So if you collectively look at it across all the airports, the existing cargo handling capacity is only some 4.5 to 5 million tons today, right? And even if you look at the plans that airports have, big airports have kind of announced some plans to expand. Even if you put all that together, you're touching something like 6.5 million tons. So we don't have 10 million tons capacity. I expect the other service providers like air freight stations that we've been talking, like it happened in case of ocean, where the container freight stations that have become very popular, they kind of take the activity away from the port and improve the capacity of the port to manage more business, right? That's what happened in that industry.
So turnaround time at the airport increases.
Will increase, and you're actually managing at a unit level. You're not really managing cargo at a bulk level or loose level, so that without making substantial investments, you improve the capacity of the airports. I see that happening in the airports. Right. Otherwise, there is no way that you can actually increase the capacity. So you take this activity away from the airport, which means there will be massive opportunity for people to invest, companies, individuals, business people, to invest in something called air freight stations. Right. So the air freight stations being located in manufacturing centers closer to where the production happens, and make it ready for exports, and then move that stuff on a unit level, to the airport. And the airports will be like what happens in Hong Kong, for example. I think almost 90% plus happens at a unit level. The units are actually built by the agents or the service providers, either in the manufacturing location or in their bonded facilities. You're not doing it at the airport anymore. I think all those changes are expected to happen to meet the demand that we're looking at. So I think, and the technology is improving as well. So we need more cargo community systems for seamless transfer of data. Remove the complete duplication of data entry, remove all the papers, completely remove the papers from every transaction within airports, within the entire airport air cargo supply chain. All that I see happening. Some of it I have already seen in the last 10 years, but the change is accelerating. And I see what we see today, the industry will be very different in about 5 years' time. Right. So I'm happy that I'm still involved in the industry with all my experience of 30 plus years, but still at the point where I am today, and still going through all the changes, still seeing this transformation happening in the industry. Very importantly for India, being an Indian, seeing this growth happening makes me very proud. It makes me very happy that I'm here at the right time, right place, and a fantastic
and seeing the entire transformation,
seeing everything happening.
Enjoying the journey.
Correct. Unlike what maybe if I were here 20 years ago, I would not have enjoyed as much as I'm enjoying today. Maybe I would not have enjoyed even 10 years later, because the change would have happened by then. But I'm in the middle of all that action. That gives me goosebumps, but also makes me very motivated, very happy that we have a lot of legacy to leave behind for the youngsters. So I think the next generation that would come and enjoy the improved processes will obviously look at us and say, no, that generation did all that.
So we have talked about the international cross-border, the growth driver, the e-commerce. Another very high component from the export perspective, that is the pharma and fast fashion. So can we touch upon and how this is driving the air cargo growth, international air cargo growth, and how equipped the Indian ecosystem is there?
Pharma, I think,
capture this growth.
Yeah, Amit. So you're right. Pharma, I am also very bullish, and although it is subjected to a lot of regulations, etc. But then I think our pharma manufacturing industry is very robust. We see a lot of investment still happening in the pharma manufacturing. I think that is expected to continue. In the past few years, I have seen tremendous growth, anywhere from 15 to 20% growth on the e-cargo side.
And temperature control and the cold chain.
Correct.
Operations.
It's in all segments. It's in 2 to 8. It's in frozen segment. It is also, obviously during vaccination, we saw the frozen segment growing much faster. That kind of slowed down today, but still exists very importantly. And we have also seen the room temperature, the bulk drugs, the segment growing as well. I think that is expected to grow. I think the growth will continue. Again, it kind of goes back to the same issues that we have. I think we need to be able to facilitate that growth, like what happened in other countries. China has kind of set an example. They invested in the infrastructure much ahead of the growth happened. So that kind of helped the exports to happen without any problems on the ground. So the infrastructure that I talked about in the beginning, I think that should continue. We need to take the growth of pharma into account while we develop airports, which is very important. All the major airports, some airports already have. All the major airports, especially in places like Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, which are the major growth centers for pharma exports. Some more are evolving in the northeast, and Delhi has been also. Some amount of pharma exports happen out of Delhi as well. But there is a shift happening because of the tax policies, that have happened in the last a couple of years. We need to make sure the infrastructure development keeps pace with these changes. And it is very important that we start developing Tier 2. So Tier 2, not just
now
for pharma.
Now coming to the domestic side now.
Correct. So even Tier 2 airports, to me, will contribute a lot in the coming decade. So not because of lack of capacity in tier 1, but I think tier 2 are much closer to the manufacturing locations, including pharma.
So industrial, towns are nearer to them.
Towns are nearer to tier 2. This is one. Second, the other segment which is very important for India, which will continue to grow, which is a very major segment today, is the fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
Our perishable exports.
Perishable items. Yeah.
Which is all in tier 2. That is, none of that actually is in tier 1.
Agri-foods.
Agriculture,
logistics.
Fresh produce.
Yeah.
Northeast actually is a major production area, but then unfortunately we don't have too many. It's a landlocked place, and road network is a problem, logistics is a problem. It is improving today. And I'm sure airports like Guwahati, I was part of the journey, so we had a big plan in place to make those improvements happen in Guwahati. As more airports come up, right, I think that capability will improve. So all that is expected to happen in tier 2, some tier 3 as well. So I think some strategy has to be in place to improve the infrastructure processes, including the regulatory deployment in these airports, tier 2, tier 3. That will help air cargo a lot. Obviously, it will benefit.
How this Udan scheme of the government of India
it's not
is helping?
No, it doesn't apply to cargo. I think it was kind of implemented for cargo in the northeastern region for a year on an experimental basis. Today, it is not applicable.
Got it. But tier 2, tier 3 growth is happening, and the demand is there for a faster movement of the shipments. And this driven by the e-commerce, of course, and then you talk about
it is not growing. We have challenges. I think infrastructure is a challenge in most of the tier 2 airports. Some are good. Very few of them are actually good, but many airports need to improve on infrastructure. Some airports have potential, but they don't have cargo terminals. Some of them have cargo terminals, but only one player is allowed because there's only limited space there. And in some airports have agriculture, produce exports capability, but you don't have the government agencies located there. Right? And I think you have some challenges of this nature. So some of these need to be taken out. In some airports, you only have one ground handling company to serve. I can't take the names of these airports, but sure. So if you put it all together, it's not very encouraging at this point in time. We see the potential. We see these problems. Unfortunately, the problems don't help the potential to
exploit the complete growth.
To help us to realize the potential that we have. It is changing, but I think that is one area where I would like to see more change happen very quickly, accelerated change happen very quickly. Then I think we have a big opportunity for us to improve.
Got it.
Back to the domestic question that you asked me. So domestic, I think right from 2013, 2014, when we saw the e-commerce growing. So it's been 10 years that we have seen tremendous amount of growth. Tremendous amount of growth in domestic market. It is still continuing, fortunately. Although the road network is improving. Surface has improved a lot. Or railway network has improved a lot. So they are now able to compete with air cargo, right?
So the how much growth prospect of air cargo has dented because of connectivity of the road network and the train operation improvement?
We have grown. Air cargo has grown, but if the surface was not good as good as it is today,
and the pricing is also issue.
Oh, it is much better, obviously. Yeah. So where it is impacting is within 600 kilometers radius. None of the business actually, very marginally, it comes to air cargo, and that by and large remains with surface. So I see that on the low cost airline networks, those airlines kind of struggle to fill the belly because you're actually actively competing. You're more expensive, and then you have a lot of stakeholders as well because you need to bring cargo to the airport. There's a terminal operator involved. Obviously, there is cost attached to that, and then you have airport operators, so on and so forth. So it's a bit complicated. So within that radius, it is very easy for an e-commerce operator to put on a truck. The truck goes to the terminal, right? And the truck is always part of your tracking system. The other challenge that we have in tier 2, tier 3 is kind of lack of good systems to integrate the airport systems or airline systems.
Yeah, actually, I was about to come on this part of the discussion. The visibility of the entire shipment remained little fragmented in case when we operate the air cargo operation,
which is a challenge. So this is one of the challenges.
First mile operation, then the connectivity to the airport, and within the airline operation, then the retrieval, and then the last mile operations.
Absolutely, that's a good observation.
Yeah,
we came across it in 2014. So 2014, when a big change happened. I think, if I remember distinctly, 2014 Diwali or something like that.
Yeah, 2014 Diwali is a big fiasco.
Unfortunately, I think most of the airports had something like 18 days of
correct
Cargo piled
entire
up.
embargo was there.
Yeah.
Websites of these large, portals got choked.
Correct. Which is when a lot of these e-commerce companies decided to move to Surface.
Yeah.
Surface wasn't as good as it is today, but they still moved in because the trucking network is part of their own operations, fully integrated. Visibility is not a problem. And airports were a black hole. Give it to the airport, it's a black hole until it comes out of the other end of the black hole. And unfortunately, except some major airports, it is still a problem in tier 2, tier 3. So this is another reason. 600 kilometers, you're not cost effective, you're not competitive is one reason why you're losing it. Second is this reason why tier 2, tier 3, where the IT infrastructure is not as good as it is in tier 1. And the black hole impact, unfortunately, discourages the e-commerce companies to use these airports actively. So technology is another one that we need to work on. But then I think, having said it, the demand is so much, the growth is so much, especially in the peak seasons. So many of these companies have no option but to also use air cargo to quickly move their premium shipments. So we've been able to see the growth. But I think I'm happy that the network has improved a lot. A lot of airlines that we have in India, the tier 2, tier 3 networks are fantastic. Cost has come down as well. And the airport infrastructure has improved in many airports. IT systems have improved. So airlines are not able to ignore the airports and the terminal operators, but airlines are able to integrate with the e-commerce companies. That integration has improved. And the e-commerce companies also have invested money to be able to integrate with the airline system. So that those changes have happened. So the black hole impact is not as much as it was 10 years ago. We still have some gaps, but it's pretty good. It's much.
Another change happened earlier. The 1 decade before, largely all the airlines were operating through a medium agency in between. Onboard couriers they were having, and then the last customer, principal client. And today, largely large brands, manufacturer or maybe e-commerce, largely the portal-based companies, they are directly operating the airlines connections. How this has impacted the small time or maybe the agencies who are the cargo companies or courier companies, their growth prospect has dented because of that. Airlines themselves are operating their cargo business.
That's a good observation. So I have also seen in the last 5 years that the domestic agency business is very fragmented, as you rightly said. Possibly it was more fragmented 10 years ago than it is today. So the size of the industry today, if I understand it correctly, is about 3 lakh crores is the size. The domestic, surface, air, all together.
Yeah.
And if you look at the biggest company in this segment is only 10% maximum. 10% is the maximum size that you see in this market. And then you only have about 4 or 5 large companies. Yeah. And all of them are smaller than this 5%. Yeah. They are in the 2%, 3% of the market. So collectively, if you put it together, 20% of the market is with 5 big companies. The rest is still with the fragmented companies. But what we need to bear in mind, unfortunately, none of these companies are making money. They're not very profitable, except a few of them who manage cost well, who have good technology, who kind of invested depending on what kind of financial resources they acquired, right? If the cost of financing is low, then obviously they're making money, but many other companies don't make money.
Yes.
Some have become very
highly competitive.
Very competitive, very low margin business, very volume driven business. And many of them have become niche market players to maintain the market profitability. But this will change, I think a lot of these companies cannot survive like that. So like we see outside India, the forwarding industry, people kind of eat each other, where the big one wants to become even bigger. Mm-hmm. But the game is very simple, it happens in international forwarding business as well. Why you want to do that? Because your customer comes later, right? So you need to be able to procure your capacity, whether it is ocean or air, doesn't matter. If you're able to procure a lot of capacity at a low cost, you're very competitive. Then you're able to get your agent, sell it at a higher rate, the same capacity that you acquired, and then you make a margin. So size matters a lot. Both internationally and domestic. I think the domestic, that realization came a little later with these big companies becoming bigger. So to me, if you ask me, I would like the small to medium-sized companies to continue to be there. Maybe they will continue as niche players, serving some special segments where their skills are very important, so on and so forth. But I expect big companies to become bigger, consolidations to happen, like we have recently seen one very, very big consolidation or integration. I think that will continue to happen. I wouldn't be surprised in about 5 years' time, the biggest in the market will be 25% of the market. And then he has access to...
both things are happening. I mean, the unorganized to organized and the consolidation of a top 5.
consolidation of top 5 by eating into the smaller ones. That is expected to happen. So I'm happy it happens that way, because at the end of the day, market, the 3 lakh crores will not remain as 3 lakh crores. It will double in about 5 years' time. And I want that to double, which is good for the industry, good for the manufacturing companies, good for the market in general. And then they will be able to give very good quality service with good technology access. And I think very competitively as well. I think it is very important that it happens that way. And it's good for the airline industry, air cargo industry in general.
Absolutely. So we talked about the domestic, we talked about the international, we talked about the international transshipment and opportunities. And let's talk about this Air India operations. A little bit about how the Air India is transforming the entire, all the way the government cultural driven organization and the operations to now Tata centric cultural.
I think Air India, although I'm not allowed to talk about Air India at this stage, but Air India, I can share what is already in the public domain. All of you have access to what the press talks about. I think it's been only 3 years since Tatas have taken over, and I've been part of the journey in excess of 2 years, little more than 2 years. I think in the last 3 years, as I said in the beginning, as an airline, and very importantly for cargo, we have done things that any other airline group would have taken 10, 15, 20 years. So this is kind of acquiring an airline. It itself actually takes a very long time. So we kind of acquired the airline overnight and brought in a lot of new staff, thousands of staff with special skills that kind of changed the culture of the organization, that improved the organization overnight. All that happened in the first year itself. And then redefining the processes, refining the processes, improving the processes, bringing in technology, and then changing a lot of departments across the company is a massive change, massive transformation.
Yeah.
Although officially transformation is still on until 2027, a massive transformation has already happened, and many people, when we fly on Air India, all of us experience that.
How that you can observe.
You see that yourself. But very importantly, I think technology change also take very long time, right? So in companies,
adaptation of technology is another
takes very long time.
challenge.
Unfortunately, I think we have very young staff that have kind of adopted the technology change very, very quickly. Absorption was very quick and very easy, very efficient. What airlines outside would have taken a decade, I think we've done just in a year and a half, 2 years' time. But I think to me, what really pleasantly surprised me is we integrated 4 airlines into 2, right? So the Tata Group had 2 other airlines before this acquisition, and Air India Express. We integrated all that into 2. That's not an easy thing. That's a very difficult thing.
That itself a very big thing, and quickly has been done.
Very quickly done. These are not greenfield. All of them are brownfield, existing operations, existing brands, existing people. All 4 airlines were actually running very differently, right? Legacy. And from my experience of observing the airline industry outside India as well, even in India, the acquisitions were very difficult. You've seen many examples in India. But even outside, the process of integrating airlines take 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, and generally not very successful. There have been many failure stories across the globe. And here, I think we successfully integrated in just about a year. And the harmonization of their policies, standards, people, culture, systems, all that happened seamlessly without any problem in just less than a year. Everything happened. And now it is one airline running so integrated, running so well, running so harmonized. This is amazing to me. Personally, I'm so amazed that it actually happened like magic. I don't think in any culture, in any other company, obviously Tata Group was able to manage it.
That is one thing was common, basically the trust and then, historical proven track record of Tata. So that gives the people the confidence, I'm in a safe hand.
Correct. I think it is obviously any other company would not have been able to make it. It is purely because of Tata Group and the values, the culture, the trust they built with the employees, and very importantly, the support that the entire group, the Air India group, received from the Tata Group in general, that made it happen. It's a difficult change. It is not an easy change. I think we still have some teething issues, but I think they'll be resolved soon.
So let's come to the little personal question, sir. What one thing which kept you stuck to this, air cargo industry at your level and more than 3 decades, and you are still gang-ho and, looking for further avenues. So what is the one thing has kept you stuck?
I think it is constant change. It applies in general to logistics and it applies more so to the air cargo industry. Every day is different. Every day I learn something new, right? And very importantly, since I have started working in the air cargo industry, I have seen only growth.
Yeah.
Maybe once in 3 years you have some issues, but if you take a very long-term view, you haven't seen major issues with the growth of the industry. Industry has been growing massively across the globe.
Yeah.
With the GDP growth.
Despite of challenges, growth is happening.
If you take a long term view, look at the curve, it has been growing despite all the challenges. So these two kind of motivate me. And very importantly, I'm motivated at this point in time because I'm working in India. And India is the only country where the growth is expected to happen. Where else you can be? India is a place. This is my mantra to my children as well. I have two boys, both grown up. Both one is working, the other one is ready to work. And although they kind of studied outside, but I have asked them to come and work in India. I tell them the next 10 years, to all the youngsters, it belongs to India. You guys should be in India. Obviously, you should contribute to the motherland that you belong to. But very importantly, the growth and opportunities happen in India. Be here. And you will obviously reap the benefits in future.
Absolutely. How typically your day passes? I mean, such an uncertain environment and global position, and that too air cargo where the sensitivity is too high.
Correct. I think it is obviously on a day where we have a lot of challenges. I spent if there is a crisis, I spend a lot of time on the crisis management. Unfortunately, crises don't happen on a daily basis. So typically, I spend about almost 60-70% of my time on strategy, which is what I should be doing in a leadership role. I don't really manage operations actively because there is a team managing it. But then my 20-25% of my time also goes in making taking reviews from the team to ensure that they're on the right path. And from my experience, I can actually nudge them to the right direction, give them advice, put them in the right path so that we don't make big mistakes or small mistakes, whatever, so that we achieve what we should achieve. The rest of the time, connecting with people, I spend a lot of time on networking. I'm also part of ACFI. Yeah. I connect with the network of agents very, very actively, globally as well as in India. I spend about 15-20% of my time on a daily basis in networking, contributing to ACFI, and catching up with the industry colleagues and experts.
Got it. So, one of your messages to the young generation who is aspiring to be professionals in air cargo industry, or the people who are looking for some sense to making the business out of this?
Correct. I think one, to the youth, as I already said a few minutes ago, that India is the place. I think nobody should actually look at leaving India. You should stay back, contribute, and grow in India. This is where the opportunity is. I think very importantly, somebody that would like to make a career in India, in the air cargo industry, I think the opportunities are plenty to start your own business. We've talked about the size of the domestic market. Yes. And if you look at the air cargo international forwarding market, that's about $4-5 billion market. Right? Collectively between international and domestic air cargo, that's about $6-7 billion already. Maybe in excess of $7 billion. That's expected to grow and become $10 billion by 2030. So there is, obviously, if you want to just do an employment, there are a lot of opportunities with the airlines, airports, forwarding industry, domestic agency business as well. There are a lot of opportunities. I think you can start from anywhere, and then you have an opportunity to grow there. But very importantly, I see a massive opportunity for people to start their businesses. Some of you have done that yourself. Yeah. And I see a lot of my friends have done it, and some of them have become very, very rich. And they have become very, very successful. And I see the children actively getting into the business as well. So, in fact, I would encourage my children to do that as well. Absolutely. So that's what I see. In fact, one of my elder one specializes in cybersecurity. So my guidance to him is that you work for possibly a couple of years, understand how the industry works, understand how the corporates work, but eventually start your own consulting. Great. And the other one does transportation design. I said, you start your own studio, understand how the companies work for 3 or 4 years, but then eventually start your own studio. So I encourage the youth to work for a couple of years to learn how the industry works, how the entire the corporate culture works. But eventually, if you start something of your own, even small scale, I see tremendous growth, both financially and personally, for you in the next decade or so in the country.
So, all right, we had a wonderful session, sir. Thank you very much for your time. I am sure with this, content of this particular episode, there will be a lot of learning for the people who are aspiring to build their career, and rightly you added a lot of opportunity for making business out of it. Thank you very much on behalf of Logistics Shakti. So keep giving us such kind of valuable time. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Amit. I absolutely enjoyed this session.